else is using them.
Well, stop, and start.
Okay.
Okay. It's is this thing on? It's the Great Northern Suckscast. I'm Kelly Guest, Colleen Bertino. Hello.
Good morning.
And Miss Megan is here. I'm so glad to see you.
Hello, you too.
Oh, we have so much stuff to get to today. So, let's start where you were just talking. You said coupons and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's 2 years ago we launched an updated website, and it's pretty much taken me about 2 years to get around to doing a newsletter. And to
we've been talking about this for a while.
It's actually written. It's going to go out. Should go out July 1st. There's going to be a coupon code in it for 10% off OVO products. But for podcast folks, we have we always talked about having 2 websites. We also have our partner website. And you can reach that on the through our site, the Minnesota site. Up top, it says partner. Visit our partner website. And I'm going to give for the month of July, podcast listeners 15% off, and this will be starting. And I think there might be some things you can't use it on. That are MAP products and stuff like that. The prices are set, but I'm sure it just won't take it. And so we have the 2 discounts. And if you register for the newsletter, you can win a gift basket, and I think there's a WeVibe in there and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're 2 really they're not small. They're very big, expensive gift baskets. So we want to say thank you because we had 167 people sign up for this newsletter. I didn't even know it, so it was really fun. I'm like,
way to be in touch, boss.
I'm
way to be in touch.
Well, for a long, long time, we were thinking about a newsletter and collecting stuff, and we put out, clipboards in the stores. Put down your email, and we'll send out a newsletter. We get 5 people. I mean, Minnesotans do not want extra crap.
Yeah.
But it's now 2016. The New Jersey store actually does a pretty decent, they're New Jersey. They have a pretty decent once a month newsletter and other things they send out. It seems to be popular for them, but it was always more popular out east. So we're going to give it a shot. And like I said, if it took me 2 years to get the first newsletter out, believe me, I am not going to be spamming your damn the email box. It'd be once a month. Maybe every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it'd be it because, and it's very small. It's going to what's new at Fantasy Gifts, sort of focus on a product, probably a discount on either a brand or a particular item, and then a fun fact over the day.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's real small.
Quick read.
Nobody needs. They have enough stuff to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to give them a whole audible.com books worth of...
Which we love, audible.com, and we're brought to you by them today as well. Yeah, I visited Minneapolis last week. Shane's my fave. He's such a good guy. And I went in and I got a new vibrator. And I just wasn't quite ready to pull the trigger on the $160 rechargeable model, but that's going to be next. So maybe if there's a coupon code,
right,
I'll do that. But I really like what I got. It was, just a real, I can't remember the name of it, but it's all silicone and it's, battery. It's all perfect. I mean, it's just a really basic, typical one.
We love Shane too because the entire world is down on Friday setting up the tent or going out to the store. So the only 2 people left in the office on Friday are my mother and I.
Yeah. The
outside phone line rings, which means someone has a question. Now I'm dealing actually on the phone on something else. My mom picks up. And there's a gentleman, a very nice gentleman, who wanted to know about a couple of different masturbators. Now, my mom knows something about him in general, but not enough. And suddenly she goes, wait a minute. Call this number, ask for this guy. He will tell you. So we sent him right down to talk to Shane so we could talk about it. Because my mom's like, I didn't want to mess this up. I mean, it's been a long time. Even, I could have probably stumbled through. But like I said, I know the basics. But I'm not as familiar with the individual lines and the exact item that's in the stores anymore. I just can't be.
Of course.
But my mom's like, I know how to do this. It was great.
Well,
delegate.
And, we were just talking before we fired up the old podcast here today about, my boyfriend owns a retail store, and it can get very dicey trying to get people. So I'm talking to Shane, and, we're kind of looking at the rechargeable. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready to go quite there yet. And then I'm kind of looking, and then I reached for something else, and then he just launches into this whole thing. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, he comes across as not only pleasant and completely non-threatening and friendly, but I mean, impressively knowledgeable. Like, I mean, he knows his crap. It was like, somebody selling a very expensive car. He's like, well, it's got this kind of torque and blah, 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 blah. It's a freaking computer. I love him. Anyway, thank you to Shane. He did a great job, and I love what I bought. So.
Excellent.
Yeah. So the vortex of pride, I could not for the life. Well, I ended up having to work at our store because it was like it was so hot on Saturday. We had all these people, all these pride refugees, I was calling them, very pink, sweaty people coming in to buy booze. Good idea, right? When you're
Right, that'll help.
Yeah. But they're like, can we just hang out in here? So at any given time, I always had 5 or 6 people just walking around fanning themselves.
Desperately trying not to pass out. Yes.
Yeah. So how did Saturday go for you?
Well, after I whipped out the inhaler the second time, I decided that I probably shouldn't be down there. But Saturday was our best Saturday ever, sales-wise.
Yeah.
It was 1,000 freaking degrees.
Yeah.
I was monitoring the weather from home because remember, it was supposed to be, really, really awful. So I'm at home with like 2 weather sites up, texting Liz going, okay, it's in Hutchinson, but it looks like it's going north. It's supposed to, no, 4 o'clock, no, 5 o'clock, no, 6. I think we're okay. I was this total weather geek. But because I said, I mean, we've got thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. I do not need it drenched. Now, Eric set up the most spectacular gutter system for our 2 tents, and there was no.
He made a gutter system for the tent.
Yeah. So no rain was getting anywhere, and so we had insurance that way.
It's fantastic.
And it was really warm, but everybody was. There was a different vibe, obviously, from last year when everyone was so excited about the Supreme Court ruling.
Yeah.
This year, people were happy and, from what I could tell, just defiant. They were going to have a good time and screw the hate out there. Yeah. And it was just lovely, and and there was a lot more nudity on Saturdays. Normally, the naked happens on Sunday because people are all dressed up for the parade, or they're it's just. But it was so warm that the tiny clothes came out on Saturday, except for, oh my God, our neighbors. We have, now there's a company in town, Bondesk, I'll mention them because they just do some high-end lovely bondage stuff that we just can't do. They're very specific. They've got folks in full latex and leather outfits.
I said 2 on Sunday
and
myself.
I'm like, and then there were a couple of furs there out there too, and I'm like, I have worn a mascot costume in a hockey arena, and I sweated to death. I have no idea how these people were not just lined up going to the hospital.
Well, that tells you how hot Saturday was.
Yes.
The furries were not in their full suits. That's how hot it was.
So
we got the head, the
you were
hands,
there
the
later.
boots, the
Yeah.
tail. They came Sunday. They came in there in the full costumes and stuff.
No,
but
because early on Saturday, before it got too hot, they were in the full thing. So they, the Fox guy or Fox gal, I don't know who's in it, must have shed it a bit. Because I just sit there and went, what? I mean, okay, the mom in me was like, are you insane?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm passing out water and I'm doing all this and I'm going, has everyone peed? Because I don't care, because if you're not peeing, you're not drinking enough water. But I am
Colleen.
No, I did 20 years of Renaissance Festival. I know about this stuff. You have to make sure that you're drinking enough water.
I love how the mom in you is like, oh, furries, are you okay? And then the weirdo in me is like, hey, can I pet you?
Yeah.
I totally did. And then I forgot what I was doing for a second. So the Fox guy, he was very nice. And I was petting him. I'm like, oh, it's so soft. And then, like, out of habit, I just started, like, scritching his ears.
Like a cat?
Yeah, like the sweet spot on a cat. And I was like, I don't even know if he can feel this syrup. But it was just out of habit. I was like, fur, ear, scritch.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
That's fabulous.
And
did he like it? I mean, did his foot go like this?
No, I was wish. That's why I was like, I don't even know if he could feel through how big those headpieces are. But
and we had new neighbors this year, which was the adult baby people.
Oh.
Which was fascinating. We'd not seen them before. And I'm just, I was thinking about this because this is sort of new. And I'm like, this is a lot like bondage. It's folks that just need to do something where they don't make decisions anymore. But
right.
They had large onesies and diapers and a big high chair and this, and they were talking about stuff. It just, that being cared for thing. But the super adult size onesies were, but they were I was like, well, you can get like onesies like at Target, but this is different. These were definitely baby styled adult size things,
Right.
diapers, and there were big blankies and all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, that's new. You know, I hadn't seen them before, but they'd been around for a while. In fact, I think they're going to be at Crypticon because they were talking about where it had been moved to Radisson or something.
Well,
They knew
I
that.
think
Or either he just,
some of
yeah.
I recognize some of the people from the booth. I don't know if they're vending as much as attending.
Attending.
Apparently, there's some
Crossover
there. I don't
Zombie
know.
babies?
Or they love horror movies so much they shit their pants, and
Yeah.
so they gotta wear diapers
Diapers.
at all times. Or I don't know.
So we had some new. So we had the adult babies to our one side, and we had the naked guys in the barrels in the other, and the leather across the way as usual. There was a
Little dog cage.
yeah.
Down a bit. Yep.
So I looked around and I went, we are the least. We're the most ordinary people here. We're the least weird booth, honestly. Although we did, but we had a great crew. We had a lot of folks going over there. I mean, because you have to set it up and take it down each day. You can't leave the stuff there.
No, you can't.
And it was. I'm glad I showed up with another extra 100 pounds of ice and another 40 bottles, another 72 bottles of water another 72 bottles of water on Sunday. We gave out 10,000 bracelets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 10,000. Yeah. The booth was twice as big. Everyone could like come in, mingle around, shop. Everyone was so friendly, happy. We had lines. Like
prize
crazy
wheel?
to play the prize wheel. Everyone's winning their mini dildos from Tantus or their screaming old bottle openers, and they were loving that. So, and 10,000 bracelets, coupons, little lube packets from Wet. It was
We had
a lot of fun.
A wet salesperson there. One of our distributor rep showed up. Justin and Joe, were just extra help, and they just have a ton of fun. I mean, a distributor flew out. Two of their folks for 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Justin works for East Coast News, and that's one of the biggest toy distributors, I would say, in the world. And they're like, come help. Because a lot of people don't realize when they're not from here, this is one of the biggest prides in the nation.
Yep.
So there's a lot of toy companies that want to be represented. And, I was tweeting with the Rabbit Company where they're like, oh, thanks for having our stuff. And I'm like, you have an amazing product that we can sell to this wonderful community. Like, what more could be better?
Oh yeah, we all had matching T-shirts from them, and so we had a lot of fun with that. And it was just a really great weekend. And it was so nice not to be up our ankles in rain and stuff like that. It was hot and it was sweaty, but when we all, I'm the only one that wimped out. I felt so bad, but I just could not breathe. I just couldn't do it.
Breathing is rather
I'm still,
critical.
I'm still working on getting the lungs to where they need to be, and I can't do it. But it was a lot of fun. And I was very excited about it.
Sunday Fun Day and Parade Day. So we had the store open until 10 o'clock Saturday, and then we had made a promise to friends who literally, the threats were quite graphic about what would occur to me specifically if we did not make it back down for brunch at the 90s. So that's what we did. And it was actually, you guys, sometimes, the 90s is a super fun place, but when it's crowded on weekends like that, they've had some service issues. It was great this year, like really great, and the food was super good, and all of that, and then we watched the parade from kind of under there. But the whole Orlando presence through the parade, and more than one group did this, but the first one that I saw that held up all the victims' pictures as they came through.
They were the ones with all the colorful balloons.
No,
different
group.
Oh, different group. Okay.
Yep, and they had all their names and their the years that they lived, and that was very it was very touching. I mean, it was it was very emotional for everybody got very quiet.
I said there was like
That's
100, over 100 and I figured like 175,000 people for the parade.
Yeah.
About 400,000 for the whole weekend. A little bit less than last year, but the heat on Saturday would have made it very difficult for a lot of folks to come out.
Yeah.
I did not, you saw a lot fewer people that had difficulty in the weather.
Oh,
you know what I mean? They're but because it really was pretty oppressive on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was 5 years ago that we won the best rainbow themed float.
Yes.
Yeah, that popped up on my little Facebook feed today.
Oh god.
That's a great picture. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, the parade is we just don't have enough staff. You cannot do the parade and have a booth and not just pass out.
Well, and we can't be half-ass.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
so
yeah.
like when we're like, oh, we're gonna build a float, let's just do something simple. It does not
No.
happen. Like we have some crafty, artsy people in the
Yes, you
office,
do.
Yeah.
and they are not okay with simple and
no.
easy.
No.
It's not happening.
No, no,
So
no, not at all.
we tend to work ourselves into quite a bind, so to speak, where we're just like bigger, better, more rainbows.
Can we figure out how to do this? You know, I mean, the prize wheel broke. You know, the stand broke. So Eric just built a spare one out of parts in the office. And that's sort of what happened. We would say, like, can we do this? And we just figure out how to build stuff out of stuff in the warehouse.
Right.
And it just gets, you know, we're like, oh, let's do this. How much do we know? Like, no, we just can't do it. And then you got to rent a trailer. And then it's just.
Okay, but here's what cracks me up about it. Not only do you have people that are kind of, you know, like inclined to be able to build or whatever, everybody has such creative minds too. So there's going to be no shortage of opinions.
Right, which can be difficult in its own way.
Workplace violence breaks out. Yeah.
When we're like, no, I don't know if a rocket ship shaped like a dildo is the best idea. What are you talking about? That's genius. And other people like, oh, we could do like these rivers of like cum. And I'm just like, no, okay, guys. We do some wild brainstorming before reining it in.
This morning's Monday meeting, at one point, Megan is talking about mounting and filling holes. And we're just like, wait, what are we talking about again? We have a mouse problem somewhere, but, you know, everybody does. And so we'll take care of it. You know, it's no big deal. And we're like, you know, it just starts weird because if you say those words anyplace else, it's really no big deal. But you say them and we just start giggling because occasionally
Colleen lost it.
Because occasionally you're like 15 years old again, and you just make it giggle.
Honestly, God, I don't know how you guys ever get through anything, really.
Oh, there's about it's a half hour to 45-minute meeting. It's 15 minutes of information and 30 minutes of bullshit. And I keep trying to move it along or do something, see what's going through there, but
there's only so much you can do.
Mm-hmm. But that's it. That's the only meeting my mom insisted on having one and I insist on having one. That's all we do. The idea of meetings actually drive me crazy, but I do know that you have to get pretty much everyone in the room at least once or twice a week, so everyone's sort of on the same page, and then off they go. And then everything changes because then, you know, someone doesn't show up, or a shipment shows up wrong, or a door closer breaks, or, you know, I mean, then
right, you try for the best and then throw it out the window.
Yeah, it's just like any place else, you know.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, though, I mean, and I guess that's what it's hard, you know, unless you've observed this as I've gotten to. You guys really are sort of dispatched all over all over the metro, you know, so it's not like, you know, you all work right in each, you know, so you do have to hook up and at very least commiserate sometimes. So, great Pride weekend, super fun. And the puppies marching, that was fun.
Oh yeah,
Did you see
we
those
just
guys?
No, I just really quick wanted to just say again, thank you for everyone that stopped by. It was such a great experience to be able to meet customers, and we've been serving and supporting the community for, you know, close to 40 years, and glad that people are still coming and finding us and showing us some love, and we show it right back.
Yeah, you guys do, and great participants. So this one, I just had to start out with this because, Meg, you and I talked about this when Colleen was out of town, romping across Canada with teenagers, or toward Canada anyway, when the Lilo Hex condom came out, and it was pretty interesting, and they wanted to come out with a whole different version of it. It sounds pretty cool. It's supposed to feel way better, blah, blah, blah. And then they go and choose Charlie Sheen to be the spokesman. Megan, take it away. You found this.
Wow, they really stuck their foot in it this time.
Yeah, Tara sent me a link to the article too, and, you know, we were all finding it. It was just like, what the hell are they thinking? I mean, it just, maybe if you would have gotten his, ex-wives or something.
Right. Well, and the problem, like, every time I've said this many times, every time we bring up Charlie Sheen, I don't like the guy. Yeah. He is not, in my opinion, a good human being. He's a douchebag.
I think so too.
And so, like, the idea of, and Lalo in particular, like, they're this, like, we're very, like, forward-thinking, feminist, designed for women. You know, they're kind of the hoity-toity feminist sex toy.
I mean, it's a Swedish company. I mean, there's nothing. There's probably one of the most That's a hard word for me to say.
Egalitarian.
Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome.
I started in the wrong, and then that was going to screw that up. Country there is, and so I cannot fathom how, in any way, shape, or form, they thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our distributors is offering to buy back all the Lelo product.
That's the backlash. Is so
That big.
It's so huge because all of their target market are the exact type of people who will not put up with a woman beater as a spokesperson for their sex toy brand or their condom brand.
Or an asshole
Right.
representing them.
Right. I mean, that's the big thing is like, even aside from he did not tell his partners he had HIV for his, there's a lot of personal baggage and reasons and blackmail. And so it's, even aside from all that, he is a known woman abuser. Like that alone says, hey, maybe we as, a company that is focused on females is not the best choice for us.
You want to hear the quote? Here's the quote for the audience. If you haven't read it, and of course, Megan will have the link on our site if you want to read this, but here's the quote from Lelo. We know Charlie may be a divisive choice for many, but it's also a bold one. And in the fight against STIs, we need to make an impact.
Yeah, they're just doubling down.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and there is the, no press is bad press kind of mentality. But when you're alienating your customer base to such an extent.
And and honestly, I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad toy company or
Right.
the stuff that the products they make are nice, but honestly, we haven't carried them in about a year.
We were ahead of the game on this one a little
what
bit.
happened is that they do well in other places, and it is a good toy. I'm not gonna, it's going through there. It's well made, good motors, good silicone, all that sort of stuff. But they hit a price point that does not work for the Fantasy Gifts customer.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. We were able to bring in other lines, such as Jopin and Rabbit Company, that hit a price point that works better for our customers and that work as well.
That's what I think I got, yeah.
And so that's where we ended up, because we're looking at it. I mean, because they did well, and then the prices kept going up. And then we had to price them accordingly, obviously.
Yeah, they set the prices.
Yeah, they set the prices.
Controlled. We
it's
can't
controlled.
do anything.
And then they just stopped. I mean, they stopped selling. I mean, I'm not keeping it there just because of the name. People know it, yeah. But it just stopped. And it stopped about 18 months ago. And we probably dropped it about a year ago. We just stopped ordering it and just put everything to. I think there's like 4 or 5 pieces left. They're probably going to end up in a dump bin somewhere. I just don't have the display space for it anymore. When we have other things that we're doing. And so part of me was like, okay, they did this bonehead maneuver, but I think I really don't have to do it.
They've been crazy for a while.
Yeah, they also. They did a movie. They produced a movie that had nothing to do with their thing. They're like, wow, this is great. And we're like, but what does this have to do with your vibrator? It was very strange. So
Yeah.
I don't quite understand where they were going, but pretty much. I mean, it was an easy decision for us a year ago, because 18 months ago, the prices got to a point where it didn't make sense for our stores.
When they first came out, they were one of the only really high-end, strong-motored
Waterproof silicone toys.
silicone. And now they've got competition, to be quite honest, and they're not pricing as if they had competition. Other companies are coming that are making toys that are now just as nice, rechargeable, silicone, waterproof, submersible, some of them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Interesting.
I mean, Lelo's the the Gwyneth Paltrow or whatever, $16,000. Like, that's a Lelo toy, you know. Anytime you hear something that's way too expensive, chances are.
Yeah, they're really. The design's beautiful, and they're certainly available out there. And if that's something that you're looking for, I'm not even sure I think I've got them still on the. I'm not even sure ECN's going to carry them over. I know that they're not. They just price themselves out of our market. They're not other people's, but they did for us.
Okay. So ijustcame.org.
Okay.
ijustcame.org. Yeah, so it's a chance to masturbate for charity.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
I get people off for charity sometimes.
Right. So it's 2 Stanford undergrads, and they're going under assumed names because they don't want to maybe mess up future careers. But basically, they're going to donate money to a good cause every time someone masturbates to the porn on their site. It came up after a drunk night of partying, surprise, surprise, and it wasn't the worst idea that they had on that given night. They said that they were originally trying, I don't know why this cracked me up, but it did. Originally, we were trying to build a Tinder for lunch, for people who didn't want to eat alone. And they end up to masturbating for charity. Okay. So that took a left turn. So they picked out 3 charities. One of them is the Movember Foundation. That has to do with prostate and testicular cancer, the Ovarian Cancer Research Fund, and then the Joyful Heart Foundation, which is an organization founded by Mariska Hargitay of Law and Order SVU fame, that helps sex assault victims. And they've raised about $1,000 so far, which at a penny per, that's not too bad, and they think that they can get really big. So they're just going to see, but they're just wondering, there's been no word from the charities, and they're just really not sure if they want to be affiliated with the porn site.
Well, I'm just hoping that they're actually paid to use the clips. You know what I mean? Did they just,
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
there's some sort of thing, but I mean, just the whole concept of it was pretty funny. So, check it out. IJustCame.org, and they're hoping to get rich.
Yeah, it does say no pop-ups or banners.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well,
Because
there you go.
really, because I just,
You want at least one pop up.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and there's
I wonder how they track. Like, how do you know?
Well, they've got a login, I think, but there's a catch. You have 2 donations per day and a 15-minute cool off between each charitable orgasm. So there's rules, people. There's rules.
There's always a catch.
Well, I suppose they just assume that if you've,
Watching the
if
video
you've paid to
and-
down, yeah. But they have all sorts of different things you can search for.
They could hook up with the orgasm sound library, and then they could you would have to have the sound of your orgasm, and then that would count toward charity, and then it could go to the library.
That's perfect.
all
See,
sorts of
maybe we could
categories. Hashtag public. Hashtag orgy. Hashtag big dick. Hashtag MILF. Hashtag, ass.
Or hash browns, as Marlene would say.
Oh my God.
The other day, she was like, "I still don't understand Twitter. What is with those hash browns?"
Oh my. And that's Marlene, just for those of you who don't know, is Colleen's mother, who's in her mid-70s. Hash brown.
So of course I had to tweet that.
That's amazing.
I think it might have been even better than the USB being called KGB.
KGB. That's one of the things is that, and it's not, people are like, oh my God, what is she, Alzheimer's? No. My mother has butchered language her entire life, and it is just adorable. Most of the time we know what she's trying to say. Sometimes she butchers it so much that we can't figure it out. And I realize, I've got half her DNA. So occasionally I can't come up with a word, and I'm like, and I just look at my guy and I go, yeah, you know my mom, so But here's the deal. Because I'm half mom and half dad, at least I know when I'm butchering the language, and it drives me.
That's worse. Ignorance is bliss in that situation, I personally think.
But it was just, I knew about the KGB. I did not know about the hash browns.
Yeah.
It is just, the BlackBerry phones were blueberries or something. It was close, awfully close.
Awesome.
Yeah, but she.
It adds to her charm. I'm sorry, but she's adorable.
Mm-hmm.
She is
true.
freaking adorable.
I've been we drove through Theodore Roosevelt Parkway on the way home, which is great because we saw baby bison and all this sort of fun stuff. But if I start out, I will call it Theodore Worth.
Yeah,
because it's closer to it's in the front of my brain more.
Sure.
And I go, I know.
You didn't put any of those bison in your car, did you?
No.
We learned that's bad.
Yeah, do not put the baby bison in the car. We saw it really was a good trip. Really see this park, folks. If you're in there, it is a reason. I mean, really, all the states have something that's wonderful, but I'm telling you, this park on the far western edge of North Dakota is beautiful. There's my national parks plug right there. Love it.
We like parks too, as well as having sex in them. So you guys scan, dicks at Fantasy Gifts all the time, but a Seattle grocery store named Quality Foods, a guy actually tried to scan his actual dick that was attached to him.
Okay, but he didn't shit on it, right?
No.
Okay, so this
no,
is,
he's just trying to, see what his dick would come up with price-wise and
he didn't
have a
did-
barcode.
you know,
Apparently not.
Well, maybe that's the problem. He maybe had a tattooed barcode on.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to. I know that there are people out there who have tattooed their penis,
oh, yeah.
and I'm just, I'm like, barcode would certainly be, appropriate if you want to scan it. Oh, jeez, really? We just like hopped up there.
Well, here comes a
Okay.
security guard coming on for a shift. And he's just walking in, getting ready to go put his stuff in his locker and start. And he sees a female clerk just kind of lose it, have this crazy reaction. And he goes to check it out. And he looked at where she was looking. And there's a dude with his junk plopped onto where, you weigh the veggies. And, where that little laser light shines, which that in and of itself, I mean, if you think you could hurt yourself with a cell phone to your head, what is a laser going to do to your dick? I'm just saying.
Not
Okay.
enough-
Does not seem safe.
Yeah, I hope. I'm sure they quarantined that entire thing and scrubbed it within an inch of its life after that.
Yeah. Well, they threatened him. They got him to back down and put it away with the threat of pepper spray, and he has been apprehended. And they're trying to sort out what the charges are going to be because there really isn't anything that quite fits.
Well,
They're
you'd
working
think
on it.
public nudity,
Or
right?
exposure.
Probably.
Yeah, exposure.
I get so jaded. Like, if it were me at this point, I would probably laugh and say, you know what?
Put it back in.
I don't think the scale can measure something that small.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it back in. Yeah. Where's your 4-digit code? There's no sticker on it. Put it back in.
I had to mention this because it sounds like something that would be sold at Fantasy Gifts. The Affectionator.
Mm,
Have we heard of that?
no.
No,
Either of
okay, no.
You want to take a shot at what it might be?
I don't know. Is it an artificial smooching device?
It's actually a machine that allows pets to pet their owners. Who thought we needed this?
Sort of the same idiots that thought we needed the cat licking tongue.
Right?
I mean, I am pretty much a go along, get along, consenting adult sort of deal, making sure that everyone, I mean, I don't have a problem with nudity, but I have a problem with flashing because the other person is not consenting. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference there. But, and this isn't even such about what the hell. People are weird.
Well, you've got to, Meg, of
Okay.
course. Miss Meg will post the link. But it's a fucking contraption. I mean, it's like, it's
does that even work?
It's preposterous. I mean, nobody has room for this in their house, okay? I mean, you just don't. You got to just see this thing. It's ridiculous. I did get very excited about the WNBR. Do you guys know what that is? The World Naked Bike Ride?
Oh, my friend just did this.
It's in Portland.
Yes, she was just at Portland.
With the dildos in the electric
Yes,
lines.
keep Portland. We did not get a chance to go down to Portland. That will be on my because that's one state now over in that area of the country that I've not been in. So,
I think
and
you would love Portland.
I would love Portland, but I'm also traveling with teenagers. If I'm going to go to Portland, I have friends there, and I'm
Okay.
going to want to go.
and hang with your friends.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, this is really funny because this is put on by Bike Portland, and I mean it's an organization that tries to get that promotes bike riding and all of this other kind of stuff. And you got to post and I sent this. It's the facts about the ride, and it's really cool and it's funny but it just talks about hey, it's not about sex, it's about loving your body. They talk about nobody cares that your body isn't perfect. Then read the fine print. They want you to know all the different things. Fair. Lawyers made them do it. It's okay not to be naked while you bike ride, so you're welcome with clothes as well. And they said events this big are only possible because the participants make them possible. And they're just talking about thanking everyone. It's just it's a whole cool site and what they're trying to do. So check it out. Woohoo. It happened over the weekend.
No, see that's it because that is nudity. The human body is not obscene.
No.
And that and I mean, if you just see and there's a difference between the naked human body and the naked sexual human body.
Yeah.
And everyone seems to lump it all together into private activity, and there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah.
I just find it fascinating, and this is just a lovely way to explain that the human body is perfectly normal. Every human body is perfectly normal. Love that.
No, I mean the whole thing, and the whole site is just so charming, and I mean I even liked the style that everything was written in. I mean, it was just like you would want to go to this. I mean,
Okay.
if you, I put in here the headline pony play. It's not what you think. So New York yesterday morning, major major traffic jam because an elderly cowboy with 2 horses was crossing the bridge with the regular traffic going into the city.
Oh,
11:15 a.m. yesterday, an unidentified equestrian sporting a cowboy hat and bandana began riding one nag over the span while holding the reins of another, following behind. Police responding said, well, he went through the Easy Oats lane. People were taking video, calling 911. So they brought a police car to get a safety zone with the horseback rider, and then they got him through. They don't know if he will be charged because they're not really sure it's a crime, because they said, this is technically, horses are modes of transportation, and this is a bridge.
right.
Yeah.
So they're not sure.
Right.
But they had to get him out of there. The guy who did this, 80-year-old, or somewhere in his 80s anyway, Doc Mischler, and he rides...
Oh, really, Doc?
Doc.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I know. How cute is that? And he does this cross country and in Europe as a means of promoting a Christian charity that seeks to feed homeless kids.
Okay,
Well,
so
he got
it's
a lot
so it's a
of
stunt.
ad
Yeah,
for his charity, at least.
I mean, he goes out and I'm sure he's as sweet as can be
Mm-hmm.
and probably, chats up the cops and everything else. But yeah, he took his act to New York. I thought that was
That is
Yeah,
very
I mean-
interesting on if that would be
Oh, I'm pretty sure that
a crime.
no, I'm pretty sure there's
But
probably
you can't.
ancient.
You do like scooters that go under a certain speed limit on, say, a highway.
know,
I mean,
but-
they
but-
definitely limit modes of transportation.
Yeah, but this probably wasn't a. I'm sure you couldn't take the horse like on the interstate, but most places you could, probably go there. I mean, they've got the carriages in the park and stuff like that.
Well, those people have permits, though.
Permits,
Do you think
yeah.
you could just jump on one of those horses and ride around?
my guess is
Let's find out.
It's probably perfectly legal. They're going to have to look at it to because really, that's how you used to get around 100 years ago. Well, 120 years ago now. So,
There's yet another article, musing about how much sex is enough and or too much sex, and we'll post it. But check this out. I want to
Okay.
throw the stats out here. According to the Kinsey Institute, well respected.
okay. That was going to be my first question.
Yep.
Okay.
18 to 29-year-olds have sex an average of 112 times a year, whereas 30 to 39-year-olds, 86 times. So, significant drop-off there. I mean, we're talking 30 times a year. But the whole article goes into discussing, whatever you like, as long as you're not, and it talks about the symptoms of hypersexuality or addiction. But I don't know. What do you guys think of those numbers? Does that seem...
Well, you're busier. I know you've got more free time when you're younger.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
it just has to do with time, for Pete's sake. What was the second age group?
30 to 39.
Oh yeah, when everyone's squeezing out kids now.
Okay, fair. That can definitely crimp it.
Yeah.
That could crimp
Or
it.
you're in the middle of trying to figure out your job stuff, because if put it this way, if you've gotten out of school at about 25, you get you finally got a job after the recession. After that point, and no one takes a vacation anymore. I encourage vacations. People take lots of no one takes a vacation anymore. I was reading about that there's just billions of dollars of vacation pay that people are just leaving with their employees. Take your damn vacations, folks. And then we go through that. I know, it's not always possible, but for the most part, people think it's not possible, and it needs to change. A little non-sexual thing there, Go,
No worries.
And
Bring it.
but the I know that I was certainly a hell of a lot busier in my 30 through 39 than I certainly was in my 18 to 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I always think it's weird with those studies that, in particular, like those that are on a week. Like, oh, I can't believe, people only have sex 2 times a week. But I don't feel like, who exactly are they studying? Are they studying married couples who are together 7 days a week? Or are they studying, like, if I only see my boyfriend twice a week and we have sex twice a week, that's 100% of sex, like,
Right. No, I know.
it really
I know.
factors things.
Well, okay, so just to look at the numbers, okay, so the 112 times a year is an average of 3.25 times a week. Don't get me laughing. I always love the quarters.
Yeah.
But then,
That was just the tip.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I knew you were going to say something.
Yeah.
Okay, but then it drops down into no, that can't be right. No, 86 divided by 365. There we go.
There's math happening here. Here we
yeah,
go.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I now lost it. But anyway, Oh no, every 3 days, every 3.25 days versus every 4.5 days is what it drops down to. So yeah, actually, and then you time it up. That's where my math went bad. I was not good at math.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just an interesting story, but there's a whole thing there. But Colleen, the one that you found about the housework,
Yeah.
go ahead and set that one up, and I've got it here.
Well, it's it actually ran across my feed a couple of times. It's been fairly popular discussion topic, but there and like 20, 30 years ago they did several studies, and they said that when it was more traditional, the woman doing housework and the guy doing less work around the house, that the sex was better. And then it started changing a little bit to where the guys were doing more and there was less sex. And now it's gotten to the point where equitable work around the home leads to better sex for a couple.
Yeah.
Because people are expected that that as long as you're conforming to the norms, that's what as per se, that your sex life is going to be better.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I'm telling you, I mean, I see an awful lot of memes where my fantasy guy cleans the bathroom and makes kitchen, and I think they're getting to the point where it's no longer. We talk a lot about gender expectations for women, and guys have just as much loaded onto them. Mm-hmm. And when you look at a partnership, who's ever in it, and you realize people do the things that they do the best. They split them up equally. Nobody feels any resentment.
Yep.
You're going to have a better everything, not just a sex life.
Yeah.
Right. Well, just a better relationship in general, which would lead to a better sex life.
Yeah.
And because it's not out of the ordinary for a woman to work more now, and it's becoming not out of the ordinary for a guy who goes, I do the dishes better, or I do the laundry better,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
or I'm actually really good at taking the kids over to the play group better, and whatever it is,
yep.
that it's a partnership, because dads do not babysit. I mean, even when I was in like teens, I'm like, what? It's the dad. But I've always been mutant. Stuff like that has always driven me insane. I don't quite understand how that works out. But if you go, when things are more equitable, the sex is better.
Well, and I think one of the more interesting points in the article is how society has shifted itself.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's become more mainstream for the guys. So now we feel better about it. It's a really good article, and we'll put it up for folks to read, because I thought it was fascinating. But even from the early 90s, and to me, the older you get, that just doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Yeah,
what I mean?
I was looking at this going, really? That's it? Yeah. But I was like, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Okay, so there's a height-sex correlation that we found. Got to talk about that.
Okay, I saw this, and I was like, okay, where are we going to go? Because I'm a shorty person, so where is this going?
Well, it focuses on men, and tall guys get laid more. And the shorter than average 5'8" to 5'10" had 1 to 3 fewer sexual partners than the taller guys, and the shortest men had the fewest bedroom encounters. And they point this back, which we're going to lead into a couple other things to the whole evolutionary thing, where bigger, stronger, healthier, better babies, survival of the fittest crap. But it's kind of an interesting story, and I mean they really outline it, the study behind it, pretty well, and it's pretty irrefutable. All dudes get laid more,
and not surprising. I mean, you always hear that when you're never looking for the short, dark, and handsome. That's not a saying.
Yeah, that is not a stereotype. No.
Although personally, I like guys that are just a tiny bit taller. If they're too tall and you're trying to hold hands, and then you're like walking all lopsided because
and if they're too big, if they're too wide, it's hard to get on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Or you're trying, different positions, and they're like, stuff is not lining up.
Yeah. There needs to be some. I mean, when there's a real big height difference, it takes a little more work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm 5'7", and Carl is 6'4", And I have no problem whatsoever. None. Works just fine for me. And God, speaking of pride, I mean, he's a yummy man. I mean, he's a very good looking dude. And I mean, I've gotten used to it especially when we're in a situation where there are many gay guys. I mean, he handles it very well. He gets hit on constantly. I have never answered so many questions about his penis in one day as I did this past Sunday. I'm just saying. I mean, he would get up to go to the buffet, and they're like, proportional or better? I'm like, better. I mean, yay me. Because I just
sorry, gents.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny. Okay, so kind of going on this evolutionary thing. This one's interesting in the same vein, but it's frightening a little bit.
Okay.
Long story short, recent study showed a correlation of the men who find a woman more attractive are less likely to use condoms. So the more attractive the female is, so they talked about the primary purpose was to understand the relationship between perceived attractiveness and condom use intentions in heterosexual men and to gain insight. And so they found they had a greater desire to have sex, but and they were more willing to have sex with them and less inclined to use condoms. There's a lot of numbers in here, but they're saying, once again, it's that mating thing. And they want to, so you got to read it. It's long, and there's numbers and.
Well, it's the same thing. The brain has been wired over thousands of years to think, well, okay, that's where I want my sperm to go.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because could you do a parallel study that apparently the more attractive women are, the less likely they are to ask a guy to use a condom?
Yeah, they didn't do it from the female perspective.
It's kind of weird because it's why is it the guy's choice? You know what I mean?
Not saying it for sure totally is. But, I mean, there may be some women out there, former Lilo supporters who say, fuck you, you're wearing a condom. If I'm going to fuck you, you're wearing a condom.
Right.
Speaking of which, we've seen this pop up here and there, but there's yet another article out there on the health benefits of giving men blowjobs because of the sperm. And and it talks about the mind altering chemicals, but this one actually goes through and explains actual percentages between women who have sex with a condom versus without, and they actually found a scientific proof that the sperm actually touching you releases more the good mood juju chemicals than if they were going into a condom. And I know, not good for the STD prevention side of the coin, but this is another one.
Just from whatever. I'll get real. I've never felt better with a mouthful of cum. And then I'm like, oh God, I got this weird taste in my mouth and a crink in my neck, and my mouth is sore, and my one piercing always gets in the way, and I'm like, I don't see these benefits.
So that was about. I mean, so you talked about just oral sex in general, or sex in general without a condom?
Sex in general, where the sperm comes into contact with your biology.
Yes, I think the male scientists are trying to convince us that we need to just bathe in semen at all times,
pretty much.
In the mouth, on the face, all over the body. It's great.
And I know when I first saw the headline from this, I'm like, all right, I'll click. But you know what? If you read it, it's pretty interesting. And it's all done by, scientific method. You could read it. Like I said, a lot of numbers, boring to listen to, but read it later.
Yeah, because everybody loves, walking around with stuff dripping down their legs, too.
But I totally get the evolution thing, though. Because, I mean, again, it's like you need the semen to create babies. So, therefore, you're going to feel better with the semen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I did read a hand penis size article about the correlation between is it true or is it not true that I thought actually said something new.
Okay.
Okay. So this particular one, they took and they measured. I'm sorry. I would have loved to have watched this or maybe even done this. Okay. So they take them and they measure them flaccid. And then a second one, then they measure it stretched, not erect. So they just pull it out as basically as far as they can comfortably go, and they measure that. Then a second researcher measured their index finger and their ring finger, okay? And then what it turns out is that the guys with a smaller difference in the length between their two fingers, which is also known as something called the 24-4D ratio, were more likely to have a bigger penis. Okay, so if you're looking at a guy's hand and their ring finger and their index finger, so it's not how big the hand is,
Okay.
but the difference in the size.
We're all looking at our hands.
Right, we're all looking at our index and ring fingers. And so it says they're not sure why there's a correlation, but they found it in this particular
So
study.
the greater the difference between the two, the bigger.
The smaller.
Oh.
So the closer in length that the ring finger and the index finger are, the more likely he is to have a larger penis.
Do they also check to see whether or not they have a freckle on their left thigh? I swear to God. You know,
I thought this was interesting.
I do. I mean, I just want, but I'm just like, I mean, why those two? I mean, you know, what? I mean, why not? Why not the difference between, you know, the height difference between your pinky finger and the one next to whatever the hell that one's called? The ring finger? Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I gotta guess though. The moral would be watch out for stubby index fingers.
Yeah, true. Guys, there is probably the longest, most massive article I've ever seen about pegging in my life.
Oh.
And I put a link up there, and it really goes into history and a lot of societal attitude stuff. It's pretty great and pretty long. But if anybody is curious as to why this has become popular and sort of the evolution of it throughout early porn and kind of attitudes in the United States, it's really good. And we'll put it up for you.
Well, I'm guessing it has to do with the fact that one, people have, and I mean, guys are realizing that prostate play is good for them, and it's going through there, and they're becoming more comfortable with exploring different ways of sexuality and anal sex, you know, as a heterosexual person.
Right.
You know, it's not just for the gay guys, or
Oh,
not
the
just
butt
for
stuff is gay.
yeah, or the or and a lot of them are like, well, you know, if you're gonna stick it in my ass, I'm sticking it in yours, you know, and if you want it, you know, and there's just a way of going about it. But I mean, really, the prostate, once it's pleasurable. I mean, it's there. You know, it wouldn't be once again, back to evolution. You know, it feels good. For, you know, if you can, you know, if your brain can wrap yourself around it, you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, this is really long. I mean, I thought, God, we could spend a whole show on just this article. So we'll put it up for you on the site. And you know what? We've got a couple of things that it's just we don't have enough time to dive into. So we'll just push these forward because they're really interesting discussion topics, which we'll get to because there was a lot of news this week and a lot of Pride stuff. But I do need to talk about Ashley Madison for just a second.
They're
whatever.
still in business?
I know.
Okay.
I know. And you know what? Whatever. Okay. If they're going to exist, I don't have to use them, and that's the way. But here's what does bug me. I have a couple of news sources that I use for this show. And this one, I mean, their ads are so invasive. You know, the ones that you can't get off your screen and they follow you off. They do this. Okay. So I'm like, oh, another reason to be completely irritated about your existence. But then they also have this little lock sort of logo thing on the bottom, 100% discreet. And I'm like, who are you trying to shit?
Right.
It's like you got hacked.
Well, they added that after, I'm sure.
Well,
I'm hoping they beefed up their security.
if they can break into, you know, I mean, if the United States can get hacked, and we do periodically, China's particularly good at it, I hear,
Right.
then Ashley Madison can.
Right.
And it just bugs me that you can't get away from it. And so I'm not saying that because it just keeps coming up, I'm going to click on it and go have an affair. But it's like, okay, enough. I see you.
Right.
Just go the fuck away.
I'm aware you exist.
Yes. But yeah.
But for
so I'm
people, that's so hard for people who are like, you know, fighting that within themselves, who are
Right.
not as happy. Like, imagine like you're an alcoholic and you're surfing the web and you get nothing but Jameson ads
Yeah.
that you can't escape, you know?
Yeah. I know. It's just there's something very insidious about the pervasiveness of this particular advertiser, and I hate these kinds of ads. So, but you know, it's one of the best sites that I have, and you know, and what's funny is if you go, it's a whole big, you know, there's so many of these news receptacles out there,
Yeah.
that you know,
Aggregates.
yeah, and it's like it doesn't happen it's just in this one particular section, but it's like, come on.
No, and this is the stuff that makes it, you know, or my mother insists that she cannot make the ad go away, and this is probably because I said look for there's always an X, I mean, but sometimes it might not show up for 15, 20, 30 seconds because
Yeah.
it's making you look for the ad and run all around there. But I'm like, no, I don't care whether it's Ashley Madison or whether it's Subaru. if this damn ad, if I can't make it go away immediately, you do not make me happy.
Right.
I will have a completely negative impression of your company. Yeah. I find have an ad. This is where people are. They're online. Great. But it damn well better be able to be disappeared immediately.
And I'm not going to fault a company that is in business that employs people, to make a profit, to sell an ad to whoever wants to buy it. But I guess who I would like to further direct my ire at is Ashley Madison for assuming that just because I'm reading stories about sex that range from every imaginable thing to some of the stuff we'll talk about next week, a new study about female genital mutilation and what's going on in Africa right now about how, to combat that. Don't assume that just because I care about that I want to have an affair outside of my committed relationship. Screw you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They must be. I mean, how does someone know that they? I mean, how is there anyone that doesn't know they exist at this point?
Right.
I mean, what are they shelling out for this? Because we know they exist. Yeah, they're going through there. It seems like an awful waste of money just from a business standpoint too.
Now, if you want to pop up coupon codes all day long, I feel you. And so just hit that one more time for people.
Well, there's going to be two things. On our Fantasy Gifts website, it will be OVO 10 for 10% off OVO products. And and then for podcast listeners, we're going to be doing a 15% discount, and I think I'm going to have it be podcast 15. That's what I'm going to put in as the code podcast 15.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work out correctly, I'll change it next Tuesday. We'll get it set, and I'll make sure you get the right one. And I'll put it on the Great Northern Sexcast page too, because I know that you'll be checking that out.
And just in case somebody doesn't have the brand familiarity off the top of their head, what types of stuff what's in the OVO line?
It is a silicone rechargeable line. They have small, beautiful cock rings, and they look small, but believe me, they stretch. Don't worry. They have beautiful, like I said, they're very sleek, non-penis shaped vibrating line.
15-year warranty.
Okay.
On these toys.
Big fans?
That says a lot. Yeah.
Big fans. Okay.
Amazing German motors. Like you said, real sleek design, remote controlled, classic, rabbit, all kinds of fun stuff.
Okay. Well, thanks for another great Northern Sexcast, guys. And ladies, we will be back next week.
Bye.
See you then.